Are you struggling to conceive? You have options, and at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group, we'll make sure you have the guidance and support you need. PREG is known for individualized fertility care that's unique to every patient. We take the time to provide a reassuring and empowering experience because we believe that you deserve nothing less. Let us help you on your journey to parenthood. Visit us at pregonline.com to learn more. Get the guidance and support you need at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group.
Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
It's the Pop Culture Field Manual.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Pop Culture Field Manual podcast, sitting right at the intersection of intersection. I struggled on that
At
word.
the intersection of the
intersection.
intersections?
The intersection.
That's right in the middle, where if you did it mathematically and there's a center point to the intersection, that's where we'll be.
I'm glad you elaborated on that. Right at the intersection of weapons, action, the military, and of course, pop culture. We have a very special episode today because we're joined by my great pal, Angel Cortez of OG Pumpkin of Defense Strategies Group. Welcome, buddy, to the podcast.
Thank you, man. Thank you guys for sitting down, coming to my house.
Yeah,
man, we're on location.
Yeah.
In an undisclosed location in the middle of Los Angeles. Yeah.
Dude, the thing is, so many people have been to my house already, so they're probably like, I know where he's at.
I know where's that.
Exactly. Well, no, I'm super stoked that you're here because, you know, we met a couple years back and your story is very unique. And that's to put it like in a fancy term, but you got a crazy story, man.
Dude, and you know what? I didn't realize how crazy it was until Mike. So Mike, who's my friend, mentor, and he's a former Navy SEAL and my boss at Defense Strategies Group. He's like, bro, you gotta talk about this. Like when you talk, people listen to every word because what you did is not normal. Because there's a lot of people who've done a lot of the things that I've done, but there's not a lot of people who've done all that stuff at once, right?
Yeah, package it and put a bow on it.
Yeah. So and as you can see it, in my point of view, there's always somebody doing to my left and to my right throughout my entire life, right? So I thought, well, other people are doing this. I see other people doing this. I'm not that special. And then not till he was like, bro, yeah, but not everyone's done all that, you know?
Yeah.
So, fuck, I don't even know where to start.
Okay, well, I think, what about just pre-military service? Like, how did you come up?
Dude, pre-military, man, I was so poor. I grew up poor. My house, we were like, how poor? Like I remember one time my mom had top ramen, and back then each one was like 25 cents, like 10 cents, 15 cents.
Yeah.
Dude, she put 2 top ramens into a pot, and 2 top ramen packets in a pot, and she had 3 frozen burritos, and she split that up between 5 of us, and that was dinner.
That was dinner.
And at that time, I was like, "Fuck yeah,
yeah, we eating tonight."
Yeah, dude, exactly, man. I was like, "Hell yeah!" I was like, "This is hell yeah. We're gonna eat good tonight."
You grew up around the LA area?
Yeah. So specifically Santa Ana and Garden Grove, because we just kept moving back and forth around that general area. Usually, if rent went up or whatever, something happened, we would just go, you know. And we always lived, like in someone else's house. Like a lot of people may not understand that, but like people will rent their living room out.
Yeah, in Los Angeles, it's very common.
Yeah, in LA and here in Orange County as well, it's very common, man. So like, for example, right now we're at my house, people would just put a little curtain, and you lived here in the living room, and you had access to the bathroom, and that was it. And then maybe the kitchen when the main people weren't there.
Right. It's like Airbnb before Airbnb came along. Yeah.
But like
Wow.
very limited.
Yeah.
Airbnb.
Yeah.
I always wanted to join, but obviously my actions weren't saying that he's gonna do something with his life or he wants to join or cares about the country or whatever. But I wanted to, like in 9/11, like for sure, because I was poor. And eventually, my mom found out about food stamps, so she signed up for everything. So I was raised on food stamps. So when the country got attacked, I saw it as an opportunity to give back to the country that gave so much to my family and I, especially my brothers and my sisters.
Wow.
Little did I know I was gonna make the fucking cut to go to war. You know?
Yeah.
So I walked into a recruiting office. I was like, "Hey, I want to join when I'm 18," and the recruiter's like, "Actually, you can join when you're 17."
Yeah, you just need a parent's signature.
Yeah,
right.
dude. 2 weeks later, I fucking
Oh, so you joined at 17.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
And your parents were like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, but dude, by then I wasn't even living with my parents.
Oh, okay.
They had to kick me out. They're like, "Get out of here. You don't want to listen. You don't want to learn."
Yeah.
And yeah, I did the physical. I went to MEPS. I did the ASVAB and everything, PT test, and then they're like, "All right, we just actually need to find your mom and get that signature." And when I showed up to the recruiting to my mom's house with the recruiter in his uniform, dude, she just started crying.
Yeah.
She's like, "Don't do this."
Oh,
Like,
really?
Are you sure? And I was like, "Yeah, I'm sure." She's like, and at that point, like, you have to grow up fast. So at that point, I might have not understood what was really ahead of me, but I knew the overall significance of my situation,
Yeah.
of my actions, right? With me signing, what it was going to do, and I wanted to. So when I joined, man, I met a lot of people just like me from all over this country. That's when, and it just happened to be, I'm not sure if it had to be an accident, but a crazy accident. In my basic training class, in my platoon, it was all the gang members and troublemakers from the fucking country. I'm talking about like
It's like the Bad News Bears. That's so funny.
from Florida, New York, Arkansas, Kentucky. Like that's where I first found out that there was actually white gang members and criminals. Like some
Yeah.
dude from Mississippi was like, yeah, he's like, I was charged with murder, felt not guilty, and then decided to join.
Jesus, man.
I was like, what?
Yeah, there is some scoundrels. I remember one guy in my basic training. He was from Stockton, and like Stockton's not a good place. No, it is not. You don't raise a family in
It's
Stockton,
Stockton,
especially
California.
as a white collar family. But I remember he gave the realest answer when the drill sergeant was going around, and we're all towing the line, and he's like, "Hey, why do you want it? Like, why do you want to be infantry?" And everyone's given the generic, "I want to serve my country. I want to answer the call." And you can see through all the bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he got to, and I gave the answer I thought they wanted to hear. Like, "I wanted to serve my country, do something honorable with my life." And he's like, "Yeah, get the fuck out of here." And then he goes to the next guy.
Yeah.
And then he goes to this dude, and he's like, "Why do you want to be infantry?" And he gave the realest answer I've ever heard. He said, "I want to murder people legally." And the drill sergeant was like, looked at us all, and he's like, "That is the fucking realest answer anybody could give." And he's like, "Kudos to this guy." Yeah. But I was like, damn, dude, like, there are some scoundrels,
Yeah.
coming into the army, which makes sense because a lot of these dudes are looking for direction.
Yeah.
No discipline, no like real life experience, just what they've, especially the younger ones, just what they've experienced in high school. And I got in trouble in high school and everything, but did I consider myself like a bad kid? No. But was I not where I should have been and doing what I should have been? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the army gave me all those tools and discipline and direction to make something out of it.
Yeah.
Definitely, man. And I wanted that. So like, I remember one of my team leaders was like, he's like, "Cortez, you know what your best attribute is?" And I was like, "What?" And he's like, your willingness to just shut the fuck up and listen. And you'd be surprised of how hard it is to get dudes to just shut up, listen, and learn. And you just shut up and you just listen and learn. And that right there is going to take you far. And he told me that when I was 18.
That's great. Starting out strong, huh?
Yeah.
And when I meet guys who are like, "Man, the military fucking sucks or wasting my time," I always wonder because I would see dudes who never gave the military a chance.
Yeah.
They were stuck in their ways.
Yep.
Hated being told what to do and so on, and never gave it a chance. But also, I've also seen dudes who really wanted to get the full experience, and unfortunately, they went underneath a team leader or a squad leader who might have been on his second divorce, or had some friends killed, and it became an alcoholic, and then that's who they were under, right? And unfortunately, was probably not the best military experience. But I always tell people like, hey, man, I took as much as advantage as I could from my surroundings. Maybe not all the time, but as much as I could, because I'm not gonna lie, in the beginning it was kind of hard to obviously change my ways because it was a culture shock.
Yeah.
It was huge.
Being in the military,
Yeah.
And so you joined the Army. You went regular Army first before you ended up going to bat, right?
Yeah,
So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, what was your MOS? What did you want? What did you think you wanted to do? What did you sign up as and go for?
Well, because in all the National Geographic specials, there was like IEDs, right? And everything was IED this, IED that. So I didn't know. First of all, I was like, I don't know what the fucking IED is, but they keep talking about these IEDs on the roads, and so I walked into the recruiting office, and I was like, hey man, I want to go after the people who make these IEDs or go find these IEDs, like something about is that a thing? And I remember all of them were just like, their jaw just dropped. They're like,
not a lot of people come in here want
mess with explosives. Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. They're like, yeah, you can be EOD or you can be a combat engineer. And because I sucked at fucking school, because school was hard for me. One, because both my parents came here illegally.
Okay.
So everything was Spanish at my house, and everything was difficult for me because the only English I would get was at school.
Mm-hmm.
So like I remember in third grade, I would be taken out of class, and while it was the reading and writing period, I was outside like learning how to read like kindergarten books, like Sam Rides a Bike.
Yeah. See
The
Tom
hungry-
run.
Yeah.
Hungry caterpillar.
Yeah.
Yeah, and dude, it was. So I'm like, fuck, there's no way I'm gonna pass EOD. And I was like, well, combat engineer it is. So I went in as a combat engineer, and within 6 months I was in Iraq looking for bombs. We found some.
Wow.
But
It's a quick transition.
Yeah.
What year was this?
08.
Oh wait. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I was in Iraq too in 2008 too. Where were you?
Dylala province.
Oh, it's sorry, north or south?
I can think Dylala's north.
North. Oh, we were north too. I was up at near Dahuk and Erbil and Mosul.
We were at by Cop Cobra, and then the bigger base was fuck. I want to say Shank, but no, Shank was Afghanistan, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, Shank.
Well,
was
we'll compare maps later. That's pretty cool. Man.
Yeah.
And so I always thought like I didn't know anything about the special operations community. Like I thought you joined and they kind of just like told you to go. Like
Yeah,
hey,
that's what I thought. I didn't know you could get a ranger contract. I thought it was like something you needed to be embedded in first, and then they like come up to you in a nice van and like kidnap you, and then they're like, "Show me what you got." You know?
dude, I thought something similar,
Yeah.
man. Like to show you how not just intelligent, but like experience in life I was. Dude, I remember when they gave me at basic training, they're like, here, learn the alphabet, and I was like Alpha Bravo. Dude, I remember thinking like, dude, I'm so military now. Like that alone was a big deal for me, man.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to fall underneath great leadership. Well, technically he wasn't like direct leadership, but his name's Hugo Vanderwall. He's like half American, half Japanese. He's a military brat, and he just took me under his wing, dude. And he was always ahead of his time, man. Like this guy, he was an E5. He lived in the barracks single. He had a barracks room all to himself because he's an E5.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, he had an Xbox or a PlayStation just like everybody. But on the other side of his fucking room, dude, was a library of nothing but books about
Interesting.
everything that you can think
man.
of. So, and he was just pouring all this knowledge at me, and all of it at the time I didn't even understand, right? But he's talking about history and war and culture and all this and that, and I'm just taking it all in. And eventually, I told him like, man, I want to go. I want to go into special operations. And he's like, you can do it, dude. He's like, and he helped me believe in myself and trained me up. And most of my combat experience was in Afghanistan, and a lot of people see the footage and they think I was either in special forces or this has happened when I was a ranger, but it wasn't. Actually, I was conventional. So like by this point, I'm already making a name for myself, and within my company, they can see like, oh, this dude's heading somewhere. And I told my leadership, like, yo, I'm gonna drop a packet for SF, and then they're like, hey man, they're like, don't drop a packet, because first of all, by that point, there'd already been like 6 dudes who fucking took off.
Yeah, they're like, we don't want to lose anymore.
Yeah, not any good ones. Yeah.
Yeah,
So they're like, hey man, they're like, we're actually gonna go and deploy with SF. So like, you might want to stick around.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, and by this point, I'm already a team leader, and I'm like, you know what? And then I started noticing SF guys around our area, and what happened was the whole village stability operations thing.
Okay.
So what a lot of people don't know this, but village stability operations is basically, instead of fighting out of a big base, you would live within the valley in a compound, which is usually an Afghan house or Afghan police station. You would live there and fight out of there. And instead of putting 2 ODA teams in one position, they thought, let's supplement that with an infantry squad or 2 infantry
interesting.
squads.
Huh.
So that's what we did. And we were in Wardak with their group, and we made the national headlines 3 times.
What?
And I thought everybody was fighting. I thought everybody was doing the same thing we were doing. And dude, Afghan was where I was pulling bombs out of the roads with my fucking bare hands, cutting wires, and all this stuff was normal to me because this is what I thought everybody else was doing. This is what I thought special operations was doing. So this is what I want to do. I get to be with Green Berets now. And now there's dudes giving TED Talks, writing books, and doing all this from our deployment in the area we were at. So when I came back, after experiencing that type of deployment and having that direct of an impact, I'm like, I'm going special operations. So I dropped my packet for a regiment because I did want to go SF, but some of the SF guys used to be in regiment, and they would talk to me about regiment and SF, and then I'm like, you know what, regiment sounds more for me. And so I dropped my packet, and because I was prior service and an E5, man, my selection process was a lot longer. So within 1 year, so October to October, I completed in this order: RASP. I'm gonna count pre-RASP because pre-RASP was in a lot of ways harder than RASP.
I was there for 2 months. Just like fucking.
Bro, we had this one dude who was getting ready for CAC selection, and he would take us on his fucking workouts. So he's like, I already have these fucking young bloods.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fucking take them to my workouts, and he made it into CAG.
Yeah,
Because he told me that if he didn't make it, he was going to go back to 1st. And I went to 1st Battalion, and I never saw him. So I know he made it.
Yeah.
But I did pre-RASP, RASP, Airborne School, Master Breacher, the regimental one. Right?
Nice,
So
yeah.
not the regular Army one, the regimental one. CERT and Ranger School.
Yeah.
So I did all those 6 things within 1 year, and
Oh
then
my god.
I had my official spot.
Wow.
Because after I'm completing each thing, they're like you're like leasing to own right now, right? You're not official. There's any point where you can't make it. There's no rollover.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I was like, fair enough. And then regiment was exactly what I thought it would be on stateside, right? The training, I got to train with MARSOC and special operation guys from Italy, from Israel. High level training, high tempo, like in my conventional unit, I was eventually, right? I was one of the top dudes, right? I was like a stud, but in regiment, everyone's a fucking stud. Right?
Yeah, even if I consider myself pretty above average, and like I was on the lower spectrum. Dude, like you're surrounded by just the craziest
Beast.
physical specimens
Yeah.
in the world.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely imposter syndrome, especially for us smaller dudes,
And dude, and that is, I think, obviously because most listeners only can hear me, but dude, I'm 5'5", right? So and when I went through everything, I only weighed, I think, maybe 130 pounds.
Oh my
Oh my god, he's a little man.
Yeah.
So everything, as you can imagine, was fucking hard.
Yeah, it is.
Like, I remember during one of the rucks, the time rucks, they didn't tell us how long this ruck was going to be. And I finished second right behind the number one guy. Like, even for a good portion, him and I were together. And he was like, afterwards, he's like, damn, Cortez. He's like, when we were running, I would have these strides, and then I would just see your little legs like.
Yeah.
He's like, you were doing like four for every two. For every one of his.
Yeah, dude. One of my first PLs must have been 6'8", and we were doing a ruck with him, and like one of his strides was about 6 of mine. And he'd always be like, "Why don't you just lengthen your stride?" And I'm like, "Do you not see my fucking body?" Yeah. He's like, "You just need to be faster," and I was like, "Thanks, sir. That's the best
Good
advice."
direction. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude,
it was nuts. That dude could ruck a 12-mile in like 2:05 only walking. That's how tall this fucking dude was.
Dude, and regiment was great, man. I mean, I had again, I fell underneath. It's a great leadership, like Christopher Solis was my
you were
section
under,
leader
You were under Solis
the entire
Wow,
time,
man.
dude. And and the listeners don't know, he's the last guy that got the Medal of Honor,
Yeah,
and he was. I remember when before I met him, dude, I was so fucking scared. I was like, even though I had already gone through this crazy already experience in the military, right? A lot of fucking combat in Iraq. I mean, in Afghanistan. I had already gone through some schools, but I was just fucking scared because regiment in my eyes was the big leads, right? Like, I'm like, fuck, dude. And I'm like, oh, I'm about to meet my section leader. And there comes Solis. And he was fucking chill. He was, took me under his wing. He was a very good individual. And I wish I would have, taken everything in more, right? Because Afghanistan, we lost a lot of people. And like, for example, when we got there, dude, the ODA team that was outgoing and that was taking us in took us directly where they had just lost 4 guys.
Wow.
And there was still pieces of the Humvee embedded in the fucking ground.
Wow.
And they're like, hey guys, they're
this
like,
is real, huh?
spring, this is what's waiting for you guys.
Wow.
And we were like, fuck. And that's what happened, dude. We dealt with suicide bombers, Taliban getting as close as being on the other side of the wall to our compound, right? We don't live in a big base. Like, they try to overrun us.
Yeah, I've seen the footage. It's all mud fucking huts and
Dude,
MRAPs, right?
yeah.
That's it. That's all you guys had.
Dude, the combat footage, like, as a collective, has gone millions and millions of views. And that's how first people started finding me out on Instagram.
Yeah.
Because first, I was slow on social media. Like, when people first had MySpace, I was like, dude, what the fuck is that? and then when
What's
I
a top 5? Yeah.
and then when I got a MySpace, everybody's like, dude, I'm on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Just chasing the curve.
and then when I'm on Facebook, they're like, I'm on IG.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram,
And
dude.
I was like, dude,
Get
what?
with the times, old man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So by the time I got on Instagram, and this is when I got out of the military, I started sharing all the combat footage, and everyone's like following me and reposting, and eventually it started off with college kids and high school kids. They would reach out and be like, and it was the same message over and over. No offense, man, but you're small. So how did you make it into special operations? And then now, right? To now is 2023, right? Now there's a bunch of programs, a bunch of videos.
Yeah, everybody's got their own channel on how to make it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
But-
mean, I went through in fucking 14, end of 14, and like the only thing I had to like kind of gain insight through RASP and all Ranger School and all that was a book called Violence of Action that just happened to be in my basic training bay, and they had one chapter on RASP, and it was like, RASP is hard, chapter 2. And I was like, I didn't, no direction. But now everybody has like, a training program. There's videos. I think you were one of the first people that I saw on YouTube actually talk about their experience, where you're wearing your hoodie and your glasses.
Yeah, dude. And I'll never take those down.
Yeah.
And I watch those videos and I laugh at myself because, like, one, I'm scared of the camera, so I have shades on.
Yeah, he's like inside with glasses
Yeah.
on, and I'm like, damn, this fool's Mexican as hell.
I promise people, like, I don't wear sunglasses indoors, but I was just so scared of the camera because, like, I asked this one a girl who I knew who trained at my boxing gym. She's like this IG girl who makes a lot of videos and stuff. And now I asked, like, how do you make your videos? She's like, well, there's two simple methods. You can either look at the camera or not look at the camera and look at something off to the side, right? And I tried to look at the camera and I was like, this is too weird. And then I'm like, okay, do it. Don't look at the camera. But then I would catch myself in the video looking at the camera.
Yeah.
Looking at the camera. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to wear shades and I'm actually going to look down and just talk.
Mm-hmm.
Because people kept asking me the same questions and I didn't want to give them.
Introducing Carvana Value Tracker, where you can track your car's value over time and learn what's driving it. It might make you excited.
Whoa, didn't know my car was valued this high.
It might make you nervous.
Uh-oh, market's flooded. My car's value just dipped 2.3%.
It might make you optimistic.
Our low mileage is paying off. Our value's up.
And it might make you realistic.
Car prices haven't gone up in a couple weeks. Maybe it's time to sell.
But it will definitely make you an expert on your car's value. Carvana Value Tracker. Visit Carvana.com to start tracking your car's value today.
It's Superstart Battery Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Get up to a $25 gift card after rebate with the purchase of select Superstart batteries. Our professional parts people will test your old battery for free and recommend the right battery for your vehicle. For power, performance, and reliability, choose Superstart batteries only at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
A 2 cents answer. I wanted to give them a detailed answer.
Yeah.
Kind of like when I had questions in the military and Celise would give me a detailed answer.
Yeah.
When Hugo van der Wal would give me a detailed answer. So I'm like, you know what? Let me do this. But as you can imagine, doing this over and over, day in and day out, my wife would be like, hey, like, I know you're trying to help these kids, but like, we're at the playground, play with the kids. And I'm like, you know what? You're right.
You need to separate them.
I need to do something. And that's when I started making the YouTube channel. I had no goals to be like a YouTube channel guy. I would just like, okay, I'll make the fucking video, put it on YouTube and just forward them to the video. And I would always tell people, if you have any more specific questions, come back and ask me. But I think this video would help. And then, so now the Rasp Ranger one, I think it's been seen a couple thousand times. And at this point, dude, by helping dudes out, man, now I think it's at 27 or 28. I've helped 28 dudes enter the special operations community.
Hell yeah.
That's great, man.
And most of them being Rangers.
That's awesome. And it's a good feeling, dude. It's a really good feeling.
It's a good feeling. And sometimes I don't know where these conversations would go. Like, I'll get a picture and it'll be a tan beret or them in their graduation picture. And then I'll look through the history of them and I talking, and then I'd be like, dude, I talked to this guy like a year ago.
Yeah.
Or I talked to him like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see that information or that time spent actually went towards something, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But yeah, dude, it's kind of like my intro into social media.
Yeah. No, I mean, how do I phrase this? It's so important, but then it's so fucking stupid at the same time. Just because, like you said, it can take up all your time, and then you just like, people get so sucked into their phones that they're missing life that's happening around them.
Yeah.
And like, that's what I'm currently struggling with, because it's like, I get questions, you know, just like dudes are hitting you up, but I don't have a YouTube video. I mean, I guess they can go look at the like interrogating shift fire videos where we just answer questions.
Yeah.
But when I first started out and people started hitting me up and they're like, hey, I'm trying to go Ranger, what do you recommend? I would send them, you know, a paragraph that took me 10 minutes to write.
Right.
And the entire time I'm doing that, I'm just sitting there with my head in my phone.
Yep.
My fiance's like, hey, wake the fuck up. You know? So I can't, I just, that's an all day thing. So, I mean, that's a great idea to, you know, put your thoughts out there, because, you know, I consider you one of the OGs of that kind of, you know, information online.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was getting ready for RASP, I watched that video.
Dude,
Yeah, that's nuts. Yeah.
That's crazy. And it was like, I remember I didn't know shit about social media or YouTube. And now people are so good at it, they'll probably fucking laugh at this. Dude, it took me all day to learn how to make a YouTube channel,
Right.
load the video, and now people can probably do this in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like 2 a.m. and I'm about to do the final thing, and I asked Annalene, like, my wife's name's Analia. So I asked her, I'm like, what should I call this thing? Like, how do I tell people I was a ranger and then my name? And then I remember in ranger school when like you're fucking up so bad that the cadre call you out, and it's this tone that they call you out in that you know you're fucking up. And and I just thought, because I was tired, it was late, and I remember just hearing the cadre in my head say, Ranger Cortez, what the fuck are you doing? So I'm like, I'm calling it Ranger Cortez. The YouTube channel is called Ranger Cortez, and I'm like, there you go,
Dude, done and done. Yeah.
So what are you doing nowadays? Like, what's your life like now?
dude. Now it is crazy, man. Because again, I've fell under great mentorship, and now, man, I'm a public speaker. I occasionally work on projects with like the History Channel, National Geographic.
Wow.
I train anywhere from billionaires to SWAT teams, sheriffs, and the average individual on how to better prepare themselves, take care of themselves, protect their families and loved ones. And I have OG Pumpkin. And OG Pumpkin is a brand that started, it's a lifestyle brand. So if people were to look it up, we were into, like when I was in regiment, I competed in Muay Thai and kickboxing.
Oh, nice.
So I still train and compete to this day.
Wow.
But now mostly in jiu-jitsu. So like we sell rash guards. We sell stickers. We sell hats. And OG Pumpkin was just meant to supply, some type of funds just to cover the UFC fights and pizza at my house. So like when I got out, man, just like most people, you don't really know it right away, but I had lost my brotherhood, my community, my tribe, and my purpose.
Yeah.
So after the what I call the honeymoon phase of coming back to SoCal, everyone's happy, you're happy. I met my wife here. Her and I have known each other since we were 7 years old. So coming back to home, everything was great. But after 3 months, man, it all kind of like fell apart. All the stuff that I was suppressing for years and my wife was suppressing for years came out. Next thing you know, I'm sleeping on the futon at my aunt's house, about to get divorced. Working at a fucking, you know what acai is?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't know what acai is. If you don't know, Google that.
Yeah, get cultured. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Read a book.
I used to say yogurt because people didn't know what the fuck acai was.
Acai?
Yeah.
What's an acai bowl?
Acai berry?
Dude, I would work at an acai bowl place in Newport Beach, and I would have kids yell at me because their shit wasn't ready right away.
Oh, man.
Meanwhile, going to school to become a registered dietitian, and I'm just like, dude, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I used to be an Army Ranger.
Yeah.
I was fucking the fucking best of the best up there with them. I had a house, I had a family. Now, dude, you're fucking, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And I quickly realized, okay, I got to take care of myself. I have to address these fucking issues. So I started going to therapy. I took care of my body as much as I could, from nutrition to sleep to community. So I'm like, okay, you lost a purpose and you lost a community. So I would invite all the veterans from my school and my martial arts gym to come watch the fights. And then by me doing this, I got my family back because I started addressing some of my issues and addressing my relationship issues that my wife would suppress and not give me shit because she wanted my mind to be 100% of my job. Meanwhile, I failed as a father and husband a lot of times because I didn't even put them second, first, third, or fourth. They'd be fucking last.
Yeah.
And obviously 8 years of that can take a toll on a relationship, and so it all kind of came out. But I started addressing that, and then my wife was like, hey, I'm pregnant. Like, I know these events mean a lot to the people and you, but like we got to stop doing that. Like we're going negative to our account, or we're barely making rent. And I'm like, fuck, dude. So by that, I was sharing the combat footage and helping these kids out. So I'd already gained a following, and people were like, dude, you got to make a company. And I'm like, well, I don't want to just fucking put a skull and a rifle on anything. Because even though
a grunt style, yeah.
Even though I like and I buy some of those shirts that have a fucking skull and a rifle on them, I'm like, I can't just do that and put, what do I call it? Like Ranger Cortez? Like, it has to mean something to me.
Yeah.
So when people who watch the combat footage or the pictures, I have skeleton gloves. I have a skeleton bandana. I like Halloween is my shit. So one day I was watching The Office in this living room, sitting right here. I was watching The Office thinking like, what do I do? What do I call it? What? And my son comes and he's drawing right there. So this is over there and he's drawing and he comes and he has this pumpkin. And he's like, Dad, I made this for you. And he's 5.
Uh-huh.
And I look at it and I'm like, can I have this? And he's like, yeah, I made it for you. And I'm like, and I look at
How
my
much you want
wife
for it?
and I'm like, this is it. Like, this is going to be the company. This is going to be the logo. And I quickly get my phone. I'm like, okay, is pumpkin taken? Pumpkin's taken on Instagram, as you can imagine. What about the pumpkin? The pumpkin's taken. And I'm like, okay, what about the OG pumpkin? Because of my history in the gang life, OG is like original gangster or original, right? Like he's OG. So I'm like, I'm gonna call it the OG pumpkin. And sure as shit, it's not taken. So I'm like, OG pumpkin it is. Dude, I made 200 stickers. I put it on Instagram, like, hey, who wants a sticker? And within like an hour, all of them were spoken for. Wow. And on this table, man, my wife and I wrote 200 envelopes and mailed them out to across the world. And when I mean across the world, it's because by then a lot of people are following me that are stationed in Japan, in Germany, Italy, Poland, or in Afghanistan at this point, Iraq, all over the country. Mm-hmm. So then I started making designs and next thing you know, like I have actual artists because it was a work in progress, right? And dude, now fast forward, we have enough obviously to keep supplying the pay-per-views and the pizzas and beers, but now I took it as far upon to sponsor, because most college kids are broke, sponsor them to go. I buy them boots or rugs to help them get into the military, get prepared for their selection.
Get ready.
I drop off food at the food banks. I have bigger events for the community. I sponsor fighters. I sponsor a skater or two. And there's almost 600 people with an OG pumpkin design tattooed on them.
That's
really
awesome.
tattooed on them.
I love the running count. Yeah. And I love how you post them every time you get them. You're not sure it's 600, right?
It's got to be more.
It's
how many
are shared with
I've actually shared.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that don't even, like, for example, I was training and he's a firefighter and he's like, my son and his whole platoon got it.
Oh my god.
And I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah. They're like, I was like, the whole platoon? They're like, I've seen a squad already, but actually multiple squads. I've seen a whole, I think they're combat controllers, a whole combat controller class do it.
Pumpkin tattoos.
But I've never seen a whole platoon. And he's like, yeah, I'll have them send it to you.
Wow.
And not a lot of people are, one, big on social media or like to have their picture on there, right? So I understand that. But I remember the first person who did it was actually a kid I helped. His dad was a firefighter, and he's like, hey, how much would it be for you to sit down with my son? And I'm like, what? Nothing. I'm like, as a matter of fact, I'm having an event. Like, come drive up here, because they live in San Diego.
Uh-huh. Yep.
I was like, come drive up here, and I'll talk to him. And I talked to him, and he didn't pass RAS, but he still went into the military and became successful in the direction he went, right? And he sent me a picture the week I had already made my appointment. So this design is the one that's actually the number one that's people have gone tattooed.
Oh, really? The skateboard thing? You got a tattoo on your forearm for those that aren't. Yeah. Oh, the rifle. Okay.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
there's a rifle on it. And he sent me a picture, and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna get mine this week. So I thought that's as far as it was gonna go. Him and we get this tattoo, and then that's it. Fast forward to now, dude. Now there's SWAT guys with it. There's medical personnel with it. There's firefighters with it. There's Green Berets, MARSOC, Rangers, and that I know of that have it. And because Well, with the listeners who can't see the design, it's actually an old ghost from a Betty Boop cartoon, and there's a scene in it where he looks like he's hunched over, and we attached a rucksack to it and a rifle, and we called it "Just Keep Going," just keep going, because in his face and how he's positioned, it looks like he's fucking struggling.
Yeah.
Right. It looks like he's just sucking, and for a lot of us who've in law enforcement or in the military, I think we've all reached that point either in training, in combat, or in that selection process where you just fucking suck. But something in you just tells you just keep going.
It'll be over eventually.
It'll be over eventually.
Yep.
And then also, because based on my transition, I was like, you know what, man? Life is also hard. And I promise you, even though it's dark, it will get better if you just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just fucking took off.
Well, it's amazing, because ever since I started Kick God, I'm like, okay, what can I do? Cool designs, great. You can have the best design in the world, but if people don't align with your brand, they're not gonna either want to not just buy it, but like rep that shit, So what I've definitely noticed with OG Pumpkin is it's not necessarily just a clothing brand, but like you said, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And it's like, and people 100% align with what you're doing in the community. So, I mean, it's great, man. I think you're doing awesome things with OG Pumpkin.
It's a trip.
And it shows because people literally permanently ink it on their bodies.
Yeah. It's inspiring to a lot of people, apparently. Yeah.
It's a trip, man. Like even our rash guards, like when the last time I competed, opposite gyms that traditionally hate each other, like Gracie Baja and Tim Planet, they were competing in Nogi, and each competitor had an OG Pumpkin rash guard. And I was like, dude, that is fucking cool.
That is cool.
That's cool.
Same but different.
Yeah, same but different, dude. So it's like I didn't mean for it to go as far as it went. I just wanted to get enough money to keep having people at my house.
Yeah.
But people like Mike has helped me, and like, dude, you're a businessman. He's helped me have that mindset, and other people as well who have helped me. Paul Gomez is a big influence. I went on Andy Stump's podcast.
Yeah,
he reached out. Paul Gomez spent a lot of time at Hurley and then Nike, so he's taken me under his wing, and then he introduced me to Bobby Tribal. Bobby Tribal is he has a street clothing brand that's been around since the late 80s.
Wow.
And a lot of people have seen Tribal, even though they didn't recognize it. Like Blink-182 has worn their stuff in concert. Cypress Hill.
All right. Old school.
Like you name it, like big celebrities and like in the rap rock area, like at one point or another, they had Tribal on them. Because Tribal was like the biggest thing in a certain period of time, and then more companies started coming out and so on. But to this day, dude, like if you go to San Diego, there is so many people who have Tribal. Like Tribal's got stores across the world. Like they have stores in the Philippines and stuff like that. They're in the lowrider, skateboarding, breakdancing, hip hop art scene.
Yeah.
They're like a lot of things. That's why I really like them, because OG Pumpkin isn't just military, right? And it's not just law enforcement. Like I skate, so all skaters like the brand too. I actually train and compete in martial arts, so like a bunch of martial artists around the world have the rash guard.
That's awesome.
So you're back here, kind of in the same kind of Southern California area. What was the idea behind coming back? And it sounds like you're like giving back a lot. You do a lot for. You're all about, sounds like, community and bringing people together and stuff. What inspired that?
Well, when I first got out, it was just finding myself a community and a purpose, right? But then, as you can imagine, most of my events were towards the veteran community, because that's where my heart is at, right? But now, as time progressed of me being here, back where I was born and raised, and seeing the kids, that I look at them and that's me. When I drive around and I see the poor kids or just the knuckleheads or whatever, I'm like, dude, that's me. So I can either do something about it, or I can just live my best life and ignore it all. And I thought about it, because I remember talking to my wife. I'm like, I told her like, I want to do something, and talking to her about it, because obviously it means time, and if I've already taken a lot of time away from my family, so I didn't want to go ahead and spend more time away from my family and my wife unless they were going to be on board. And she already knows how I am, so she's like 100% supportive, and she's seen the good things that I've done. And then I met Bobby Tribal, and Bobby Tribal was like, dude, you should maybe run for something around here. They're like, we need this leadership because...
Well, you mean like city councilman or like
something? But I don't think I have to run for something in order to be a leader within the community, because he made a lot of good points. Like, there isn't name a Hispanic leader that's active now. Right? A lot of people don't know it. They're like a lot of people, or he told me, and I have realized because now like I spoke to in front of 300 former gang members and stuff like that. They're like, people will listen to you because you're not a square. You've been there. You've done that. So they're more willing to listen.
You're not the man, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And he's right. And dude, now I've been doing more community events. Like for example, last year was heavy within low income communities. I bought over a little over $4,000 worth of skateboards, and I skated in uniform to obviously bring an awe to it and attention.
Sure.
And one also because I know how I look, right? I'm tatted, I'm Mexican, and for a while I was bald, so I didn't want to go into these fucking neighborhoods and get in a fight or get jumped.
Hey, where you from?
Yeah.
So I went to East Los, Orange County, all over like Santa Ana, Anaheim, Stanton, San Diego, and I would skate, give out skateboards, give out stickers and hats, and tell the kids and talk to them like, hey man, like, you know, I used to be just like you. I did a bunch of shit, and you know, follow the page, come to events, and you can do a lot. You can do whatever it is you want with your life. As corny as it might sound, I'm telling you. So then I know a lot of these kids now find the page and they follow it, and then they're like, what the fuck? Like, look at this guy.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a square, you know? Because I think that's what, I know, because I used to be in the position that you think that you can't have fun and do these cool things and get paid for and there be a future in it. No, you have to fucking buckle down and tuck in your shirt and go work in an office.
Yeah.
Which, if that's what you choose, that's great. But you can actually make money in whatever subject you're passionate about.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's, maybe back then where like, you know, you needed to have no tattoos, a clean resume, clean record to make, you know, bottom of the barrel meat, make ends meet. And that was like, you know, an education was super prioritized, but nowadays it's almost 180'd. So, you know, there's
the culture changed a lot. It's a lot more permissible. And then the technology, the internet, man, you can have a business on there. You can do anything. You can make connections. You can get a different perspective.
It's just you need to literally, like you said, buckle down and just figure out a way to do it. Because that's the definition of passion, right? You'll do whatever it is, whatever it requires to stay in that field. So if you're not willing to, are you really passionate about it? You know, but that's great, man. Honestly, thank you so much for, you know, hopping on here and talking about it. You would like I said in the beginning, your story is a crazy one, and I definitely think a lot of people should hear it because you're doing a lot of good in the community, and you know I'm confident that you'll continue to do that and be that community leader, you know, that you're striving to be. So
people like you make a positive difference, like for society. Like you move the needle in the right direction, Angel. So thanks for what you do, man.
Yeah, thanks guys for having me on. And dude, it's always been my mission to say it every single time. I am just a collective of leadership that I just was lucky enough to be under, man. That's it, dude. I none of my philosophy, way to be, or anything like that is something that I made up. No, this is just things I got from great men because I was just willing to just shut the fuck up and learn.
Nice, man. Well, for the folks that are interested in what you got going on with OG Pumpkin or maybe with Defense Strategies Group, what's the best way that they can see what you got going on or maybe get a hold of you?
Instagram, or dude, if you Google OG Pumpkin, everything will come up, or Defense Strategies. We have a website. OG Pumpkin's got a website. And for the people who don't have Instagram or try to stay away social media or whatever, right? Just Google us.
Okay.
Or our Instagram. And then,
Hell yeah, dude.
Right
Izzy,
on, man.
you want to take us out, dude?
Yeah, man. Angel, thank you so much for joining us, man. Thank you for all that you have done and continue to do. Cameron, thank you for all that you have done and continue to do.
Thanks.
And thank me for all that I've done and continue to do. Thanks for being here, me. Cue music. What's going on, everybody? You just listened to the free version of the PCFM podcast. If you want full-length versions of podcast episodes, plus much, much more, head on over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/PCFM podcast.
That is right, Israel. If you want access to this full episode, you have to subscribe to the Fuzzy Private tier, which is our cheapest tier on Patreon at $5 a month. But if you are interested in a little bit more, we also have the Salty Sergeant tier at $8 a month and the Lifer tier at $12 a month. So hopefully we will see you there, PCFM family. Cue music.